Hello everyone. أهلا بيكم في تعلم الإنجليزية. Learn English. Today, a new topic as usual. And today's topic is more connected to our world. So we stopped talking about our daily life and we started to look at the bigger world now. دلوقتي هنبدأ نبص على العالم اللي حوالينا ونبطل شوية نتكلم على daily life بتاعتنا. So for today, we're going to speak about nature. So let's look and see what we're going to learn in detail. So for today, the first thing that we're going to look at is vocabulary. And for our today's vocabulary, we're going to learn geographical features for nature. So we're going to speak about natural elements that we have in our world. And we're also going to learn grammar. So for grammar, we're going to have questions with how. And we're going to look at comparatives, how we can make comparisons between two different words. تعالوا مع بعض نبدأ بأول حاجة جاي العادة, which is idioms of the day. So our idioms for today are connected to nature and are connected to the natural world. So let's see what idioms that can help me speak and they are connected to nature. So the first idiom that we have is barking up the wrong tree. So when we say someone is barking up the wrong tree, it means that he's doing wrong choices or assumptions. يعني لما حد بيختار حاجة غلط أو بيفترض حاجة غلط, we say he's barking up the wrong tree. Which means, for example, my teacher thinks that I made noise, but it wasn't me. So my teacher made wrong assumption. So I can say, my teacher is barking up the wrong tree, which means she's making a wrong assumption. Or when I choose something or when I make wrong choices, like I choose to travel and the weather was very bad. So in this case, I say, yeah, I chose that place, but I was barking up the wrong tree, which means that I made the wrong choice. So barking up the wrong tree, which means this thing is not right. So this is not the right person or this is not the right choice. The second idiom that we have today is to make mountain out of a molehill. So to make a mountain out of a molehill, this is like our Egyptian يعمل من الحبة قبة, which means to take a very small situation and you make it bigger and you make it an issue. So making small problems bigger by exaggeration and speaking much about it. So I can speak to my sister and I can tell her, okay, so I was wearing your dress and it got a stain. فستانك اتبقع وانا لابساه. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill. So ما تكبريش الموضوع. So make a mountain out of a molehill, نكبر الموضوع قوي. Or last week I had a problem with my mobile and I went to technical support and I made a mountain out of a molehill, which means I talked about it and I exaggerated or I made the problem bigger. So when we make a small problem look so big, we make a mountain out of a molehill. We can tell people, stop making mountains out of molehills. This is not worthy. Or don't waste my time and make mountains out of molehill. The second idiom معنا. And the third idiom that we have is beat around the bush. Beat around the bush means when you speak about something in an unclear way or when you speak about something indirectly. So when you don't try to be frank, so when you start speaking much and not being direct, so in this case I can say, don't beat around the bush and come clear. Or when you go to your parents and you want to tell them that you need money and you start telling them, I like you and I love you so much. So your father or your mother can tell you, don't beat around the bush. What do you want? It's like, don't be unclear, be direct and say what you want. So beat around the bush is when you speak much about things to avoid being direct and going into the topic. So it's called beat around the bush. يبقى الidioms اللي معانا النهارده, the 3 idioms that we had today that are connected to nature is The first one, barking up the wrong tree. وعندي كلمة tree اللي هي connected to nature. And the second one is make a mountain out of a molehill. So mountain is the word that is connected to nature. And the third one is beat around the bush. والbush هي الword that is connected to nature. So the meanings of them, beat around the bush, not being direct, and making mountains out of molehills, enlarging or making a problem bigger. And when we speak about the third one, which is barking up the wrong tree, it's wrong choices or wrong assumptions. تعالوا بينا نبدأ مع بعض أول part بالنسبة لنا. And speaking about nature needs vocabulary. تعالوا نشوف إيه الفوكاب اللي ممكن يساعدني to describe nature and what are the natural elements that we're going to study today. Let's start. Speaking about nature, we have lots of words and vocabulary that can help us describe the world around us. So to start with, we can have the first thing that we would like to use to describe the world is the word continent. 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 Well, continent is the big part of the world that we live inside. So if we're talking about Egypt, Egypt is a country. This country is located in something bigger. It's located in Africa. So Africa is a continent. So in our world, we have Africa as a continent, Europe as a continent, America continent, which is قارة. So we call it continent, continent. And this O, we don't say it ko, it's k, continent, continent. The second thing that we have is a hill, a hill. And the hill is the same idea like a high place, and it's usually green. So it's called hill. So this is the idea of tell. It's called hill, hill. But when we speak about hill, it is usually a green area. And we also have a sea, which is a big area of water that has salty water. So, sea. And then we have a piece of land that is surrounded by water from all sides. This is called island, island. And island, we don't say the S is silent. So it's not Iceland, it's island, island. So island, piece of land, surrounded by water, which is جزيرة, island, island. And we also have a cave, a cave. So a cave is usually part of a mountain that people can get inside, which is كهف, cave. It's very similar to the Arabic word. And we also have a rainforest, a rainforest. لو هتكلم على forest لوحدها, forest is the idea of غابة. But rainforest is in a specific part of the planet. الرينفورست هو الجزء بتاع الغابات الاستوائية فقط. So rainforest is when we have, or the place where we have very heavy rain. That's why we call it rainforest. So الغابات الاستوائية rainforest. And we have a volcano, a volcano. So it's not volca, it's volcano, not volcano. So the volcano is burkan, which is very also similar to the Arabic word. And we have the empty place that doesn't have any water or might have little water. So this is called a desert, desert. A desert, empty place, no water, and lots of sand. Desert, desert. And we also have a plateau, a plateau. البلاتو اللي هو الهضبة. So a high place but not steep. مش منحدرة جامد أو ملهاش قمة. So it's called a plateau. Plateau. And we have another area of water which is bigger than the sea, which is ocean. Ocean. So the sea here, the letter C in the word ocean is said as sh, not s. So ocean, 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 which is the same like محيط. Ocean. And we have a field. A field. A field is not usually natural and it needs human to take care of it. So الفيد اللي هو الحقل اللي بيحتاج ناس إن هي ترعاه. So this is basically a green area with the support of human beings. And we have a waterfall. Waterfall اللي هو الشلال. So it's called waterfall or waterfall. So waterfall. And we have a mountain. A mountain. Mountain is basically الجبل. And we can have only one mountain or a mountain chain. So either بيبقى mountain لوحده أو سلسلة جبال which is a mountain chain. Okay, and we have the green area or the low part between two mountains. It's called a valley. A valley. So the valley is the idea of wadi. So wadi is a smooth area between two mountains and usually green or usually can be planted. So it's called a valley. A valley. And we have a peninsula. Peninsula. So we had island, which is a piece of land surrounded by water from all sides. But when we speak about peninsula, this is a piece of land surrounded by water from only 3 sides, اللي هي شبه جزيرة. And we also have a glacier. A glacier. A glacier is a part or the part of the planet which is very cold. واللي هو القطب. Like the South Pole and the North Pole, they have glaciers. And we have a plain. A plain. Plain هو زيه زي الفيلد بالظبط. But the only difference is that when we speak about plain, plain is usually natural without the support of human. But field, it needs human to take care of it. So هو نفس فكرة الحقل أو المكان الأخضر الكبير، بس plain ما بيبقاش للتدخل البشري فيه. So it's green by nature. But the field, it needs support from human beings to plant it. الحقل بيحتاج السبورت بتاع البني آدمين، إحنا اللي بنزرعه. But the plain is green and it's natural. It's made by God. And we also have an oasis. An oasis. An oasis is a green area in the middle of the desert. So it might have some trees and it might have some water in the middle of the desert, which is واحة. So green area in the middle of desert, oasis. Oasis. And we also have mountain range, or like we said, mountain chain اللي هي سلاسل الجبال أو حدود الجبال. And we have a lake. A lake. So a lake is a small area of water. It might be salty or it might be good water to drink. lake اللي هي البحيرة. So ممكن تبقى صالحة للشرب أو غير صالحة, but it's a small area of water. So it's called lake. Lake. And we also have a reef. A reef. The reef is a natural area underwater اللي هي بتبقى الصخور الملونة. It's called a reef. A reef. And we have a peak. A peak. Peak is connected to mountains. So the top area of the mountain or the top part of any mountain is called the peak. واللي هي قمة الجبل. So it's called peak. Peak. And we have river. River. So we talked about ocean and sea. Ocean and sea have salty water. So when we drink, we don't drink from oceans and seas. We drink from a river. So river اللي هو النهر. بكده نكون اتكلمنا على أهم natural landmarks أو أهم nature or natural elements that we have in the world around us. Let's look at some practice and let's see what we remember from that. We have talked about the most important words to describe the natural or nature around us. So the natural elements or nature around us can be used for these words. So let's think together, what of these words do we have in Egypt? احنا اتكلمنا عن كلمات كتير جدا. ايه من ده موجود in our country? So if we're talking about all these words that we studied, do we have in Egypt, do we have a river? Yes. So most of these words we have in our country. So which things we don't have in Egypt? Because we have a lot of things. We have a desert and we have oases, we have valleys. So Egypt is full of natural elements, right? Yeah, so the only thing that, or the only couple of things that we don't have an ocean and we don't have a glacier. Okay. تعالوا مع بعض نعمل practice على الكلمات وتعالوا نلعب أول لعبة معانا. So now we're going to play a game called word search. What's word search? We have lots of letters here. So these letters are forming words that we studied together. So what we will do is that we will search for words in this slide. فإحنا هنبص وندور على الكلمات اللي إحنا ذاكرناها مع بعض على السلايد بتاعتنا. So we have lots of letters and let's look at the first part that we have here. Do we have anything that we studied in these letters? إحنا دايما لما هنيجي هندور يا إما to the left, to the right, or we're going to look down. So we're going to start left to right or up down. يعني احنا الاتجاهات بتاعتنا هتبقى going to the right or we're going down. مش هندور على أي حاجة عكس. Okay, so let's start searching. What can we find? Okay, I have letter R here. Do we have anything that we studied that starts with R? Yes, so we have R-E-E-F. Reef. Reef. So the first word that I found is reef. So let's look again and let's see what else can we find. Anything else? Yes, I can see another word. Can you see it? It starts with the letter V. So if we go down, nothing. But if we look here, we have volcano. Volcano. So we have volcano here. Anything else that we can find? Let's search. I found another one. Yes, look here. Here we have G. Do you remember any word that we studied that starts with G? Glacier. A glacier. Well done. So here we have glacier. Okay, maybe we can find something else. Let's look. I have S-U-L-A, swallow. So let's look from the beginning. Yes, peninsula. Peninsula. So, do you remember the meaning? Yes, شبه جزيرة. Yes, so we have another word here. Anything else that might be there? Yeah, I find oasis. oasis, oasis. Okay, let's search. Oh, I find something here. Water. So what did we study related to water? Water what? Yes, so we have waterfall here. Good. Can you find anything else? Let's look. Wow, I found something here. Sea. Yeah. Okay. Let's look again. We might find something else. Yes. Here I have another one. So it starts with an I and the silent S. Do you remember the word with the silent S? Island. Island. So we have island here. Anything else? Can you find anything else? Okay, I found something. So desert. Okay, and here are our words. So we have a waterfall, island, ocean, reef, volcano, peninsula, oasis, desert, glacier, valley, and they have rainforest. We have rainforest. I didn't see that one. So we have rainforest. Hill, I didn't see that one. So we have hill and sea. So how many words did you find? Was it easy for you to find them? Okay, so we have these words that we have just studied. Try to remember the meanings of the words. Very good job, and let's now continue. So now we're going to focus much on the spelling. هنبص على الكلمات تاني ونحاول نفتكر الspelling. Okay, so how many words do you remember? And how many words do you remember the meaning for? Let's now go to our next activity, which focuses much on spelling. So let's look at some words that we have studied and let's try to remember what is the missing letter. So we have these words and we also have some pictures. So let's look at the word and let's try to remember what was the word, what was the picture, and what's the missing letter. So the first word that we have is plateau. Plateau. Can you find the plateau here? Yes, it's this picture. Okay, and we have field. Field. Can you find the field here? Yes, it's the green area that is naturally made without any human beings, which this one. River, river, and for river, can you find the river? Yeah, where it is? It's this one here. Okay, and we have a canyon. A canyon. Well, canyon is a great gap in land. بيبقى شق or فتح صخري في الأرض. So it's called a canyon. And we have a peak. A peak, it's the top of the mountain that we have here. And we have lake. Lake. And this is the lake. Okay, and we have plain. A plain. Where is the plain? Can you see it? Okay. Yes. So this is the plain that we have. So now let's look at them. So plateau is missing A. Very good job. And when we speak about field, it's missing I. So field, I. And this is the picture for it because it's cultivated and it has human interaction. So هنا الأرض متجرفة. So this is made by human. That's why we call it a field. and we have river, it's missing an I, and this was the picture for it. And a canyon, it's missing, yes, why? And it's a crack between mountains or a crack in land, شق في الأرض, it's called a canyon. And we have peak, missing A, P-E-A. So the top part of the mountain. And lake, it's missing a K. And we have cave, it's missing a C. And the last one is plain, which is same like field, but the only difference is no human interference, or humans are not doing this. It's made naturally. So field is done by human beings, it's done by us. So this is made by God, this is by human beings. So it's missing the I letter. بكده نبقى عملنا practice مرتبط بالكلمات اللي احنا لسه واخدينها. تعالوا مع بعض نشوف ايه الجرامر اللي ممكن يساعدني ان انا اتكلم عنه. So now let's do some more practice related to the same vocabulary that we have studied. Let's guess the geographical features that we have on a map. So here we have a map that has lots of geographical features. Let's look at them and let's try to identify each part of them. So we have, this is number 1. Number 2, the water which is coming there. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. 6. 7. 8 and 9. Each and every number is representing a geographical feature on this map. تعالوا نبص على أول واحد هنا. We're looking at this part. Okay, so this part of a map, what do we call it? A very high area. So we can have two different words. If we're looking at the top area only, we're talking about peak. But now I'm not talking about the top area, I'm talking about the whole thing. The whole thing is called a mountain. A mountain. So number 1 here is called a mountain. Okay, for number 2, we're talking about the water that we have here. The water that's coming from a very high place to a low place. So this is called waterfall. Waterfall. So number 2 is a waterfall. So water coming from a high place, like from this area of the mountain, and it's going down. And for number 3 here, we have something which is similar to a mountain but not as high. So it's a bit similar but not high, very high like a mountain, and this is called a hill. A hill. And like we said before, when we speak about hill, it is usually green. When we speak about hill, الhill هي green area. يبقى أنا هنا الماونتن عندي لو بصينا عليه it's not green, but the hill is green. So hill. Number 4 here, we have waterfall. So the water is falling into the, yes. So we have a piece of water here and it's surrounded by land. So this is called a lake. Lake. So the water is falling into the lake. Okay, number 5. So here we have this soft area between the two high places, which is valley. Valley. لما اتكلمنا وقلنا الvalley هو area between high places and it's usually a green area which is good to plant or good to cultivate. Valley اللي هو الوادي. منطقة منحدرة ما بين جبلين صالحة للزراعة. Valley. And number 6 is an area which is full of trees, high trees. We're not talking about grass, we're not talking about something close to land, we're talking about high trees. So this is a forest. So this area of trees is called the forest. And here we have number 7. What do we call this? Yes, exactly. This is a river. So it's starting from the lake and it goes to the ocean. Nahr, river. And number 8 here, this area next to the ocean or next to the water, what do we call it? This is a beach. البيتش اللي هو الشاطئ. So we can either call it a beach or the seashore, the shore. And the last one, the large area of water is called, yes, this is the ocean. So by this, we have looked at the most important geographical features that we can find on a map, and we refreshed the words that we have studied. Okay, now let's try to make sentences, and for now we're going to mix the words with the sentence. الsentences اللي موجودة عندي فيها verb. الverb ده مش محطوط في فورمات صح, so we're going to put it into the correct form. And we have a picture that we need to think of and say its word to complete the statement. يبقى احنا هنبص على الverb وهنحطه في الفورم الصح, وهنبص على البيكتشر وهنفكر في الكلمة عشان نكمل الجملة بتاعتنا. So let's start. Here we have the first one. We visit, ده الverb اللي مش مظبوط, this. And we have picture last spring. تعالوا نفكر مع بعض الverb المفروض يبقى محطوط في أنهي form. لما اتكلمنا قبل كده وقلنا لما هقول على action finished in a specific time. So last spring, what's the tense that we can use? Exactly. So here we're talking about simple past. So this visit will become visited. So we visited this, exactly. This picture is for an island. We visited this island last spring. يبقى السنتنس بتاعتي عشان تبقى مظبوطة وكاملة, we visited this island last spring. Okay, the second one we have, look that the picture going to erupt. Okay, so we're talking here about the future, and future we're using going to. So when we try to make this sentence, we need to remember the word for this picture and to put this in the correct form. So look that, what's this picture? Exactly, so this is a volcano. So look, that volcano is, so here we need verb to be with going to speak about the future. That volcano is going to erupt. Erupt يثور أو يخرج الحمم من جواه. So it's called that volcano is going to erupt. Next one. My mom loves swim in the, okay, this is the picture. So here we have two verbs together and we need to think how we can put them correctly, and we have the picture. So my mom, and we're talking about love. So now we're speaking in general. We're not talking about something for the future or something for the past. We're talking about a fact or talking about something that is happening or valid all the time. So in this case, we're talking about which tense? Yes, so this is present simple. So for present simple, if I am talking about my mom, the first verb, we need to put S. So my mom loves, and we have another verb, swim. Here we have one of two options, loves to swim or loves swimming. Both would be fine. So after love, either to and infinitive, or we put the verb in the gerund, like verb and ing. So I can go and say, my mom loves swimming in the, what's this picture? Exactly. My mom loves swimming in the sea. Okay, so let's look at the answers. So like we said, we visited this lake last spring. We visited this lake last spring. And the second one, if it's a question, look, is that volcano going to erupt? Or if it's a sentence, look, that volcano is going to erupt. Both are fine. And my mom loves to swim in the sea, like we said. Okay, so let's try one more time and let's do this one. He not climb that tomorrow. Okay, so we're talking about the future here. So he will not or won't climb that mountain tomorrow. And we have, you ever see the picture. So if we say ever, remember the tense that we use for ever? This is present perfect, so we need to start with have, because this is here a question. So have you ever seen a waterfall? Have you ever seen a waterfall? Let's check the answers. Like we said, he won't climb that mountain tomorrow. And have you ever seen a waterfall? Okay, so now let's look at the second thing that can help me speak about natural landmarks or geographical features. لما هنيجي نتكلم على geographical features أنا محتاجة grammar item which is very important. الجرامر item بتاعتي اللي هي الcomparatives. طيب يعني إيه comparatives ويعني إيه compare؟ So comparatives, when I am talking about two things that have some sort of similarity or that have some sort of difference. بتكلم على حاجتين وببدأ أقارنهم ببعض. So, for example, if we're talking about a mountain that we have here in Egypt, like when we speak about المقطم and we speak about Mount Everest. So we have two mountains here. So if I would like to compare them and I would like to speak about one is higher than the other, one is extra high. So this is what we call it a comparative form. الcomparative form عندي لما ببدأ أقارن حاجتين ببعض. So عشان أبدأ أقارن حاجتين ببعض, let's establish the idea of comparisons. I compare adjectives. لما بعمل comparison أنا بcompare adjective. يعني الcomparison بتاعتي ما بتبقاش ما بين الناونز، بتبقى بين adjectives. أنا بقارن صفة بصفة. فأنا لما باجي أعمل الcomparative بحتاج إن أنا أغير حاجات في الadjectives بتاعتي. So the first thing that we speak about is if I have one syllable adjective. يعني إيه one syllable؟ one syllable يعني أنا لما باجي أنطقها بقولها one shot. بقولها مرة واحدة من غير ما أقطع الكلمة على كذا part. So when we say hot, hot بقولها مش بقطع، مش بقولها hot. So it comes out one shot. So this is called one syllable, hot. But when I say expensive, expensive, I have three cuts. حتى وأنا بنطقها لازم هقف عشان أعرف أنطقها. Expensive. So these three cuts, these three parts are called three syllables. So the syllable is a part of the word. So if we're talking about one syllable adjective, لما هاجي أعمل مقارنة ب one syllable adjective, we're going to add ER to the adjective. Like when we say clean. So I say it one shot, it becomes cleaner than. We can say my room is cleaner than my sister's room. So one syllable, we add ER. Or when we say old, older. So here, high, higher. So Everest is higher than مقطم. So we have high, one syllable, we added ER, and then we added than. higher than. So Everest is higher than مقطم. And we have the cathedral is older than the museum. The cathedral is older than the museum. عندي old, I added extra ER and then we put than. وده هنا أنا بدأت أقارن مين فيهم الأقدم, which one is extra. So the idea of ER means that this adjective is a bit extra or it has extra. Okay, يبقى أول رول عندي إن أنا هحط ER لو الادجكتيف بتاعتي one syllable. طيب لو أنا الادجكتيف بتاعتي one syllable بس هي consonant vowel consonant. يعني إيه consonant vowel consonant؟ إحنا عندنا الفاولز A, E, I, O, U. يبقى أنا لو عندي vowel ما بين 2 consonants زي كلمة big. So a word like this عندي consonant أهو والفاول بتاعي I وعندي G. So in this case we're going to duplicate the last letter and then we add our ER. يبقى ال spelling rules بتاعتنا هنا it's going to be double G ER. So Egypt is bigger than Oman. So Egypt is bigger than Oman. We added ER but we duplicated the G. Hot, hotter. Cairo is hotter than Alex. So we added double T. Madrid is bigger than Paris. We added ER. Africa is hotter than Europe, like the examples. طيب لو ال one syllable adjective دي أصلاً بتنتهي ب E، إحنا أصلاً بنحط ER. طب لو هي آخرها E زي كلمة safe or large. So in this case we're going just to add R only. Like when we say New York is safer than Mexico City. Safe هنا كان آخرها E so I just added R. Or when we say Mexico City is larger than Madrid. Okay, طيب لو هي أصلاً مش one syllable adjective هنعمل إيه؟ لو هي أصلاً مش one syllable adjective in this case we're going to put more. وخلينا هنا نبقى واضحين إن إحنا عندنا common mistake إن أنا لما هاجي هعمل comparison يا إما هحط more يا إما هحط ER مش بحط الاتنين مع بعض ومش أنا اللي بختار أنا هحط إيه. So if we're talking about something like safe we don't have the option to say more safe. It is safer. So مش أنا بختار يا إما أقول more يا إما أقول ER. لا ده هي rule. لو هي one syllable it is ER. لو more than one syllable it's more. So not this or that, it's following a specific rule. So for more than 2 syllables or 2 syllables and more we're going to have a word like expensive. So it becomes more expensive than. Interesting, more interesting than. So a car is more expensive than a motorbike. Or Barcelona is more interesting than Milan. So here we have long adjectives, so we added more before the adjective and we didn't add any extra letters. So if we're talking about adjectives that are ending in Y, even if it's 2 syllables, so we're going to replace the Y with I and it's going to be ER. يعني لو حتى الادجective بتاعي more than 1 syllable or if we're talking about 2 syllable adjectives ending with Y like pretty, busy or happy. كل الادجectives دي هي 2 syllables فعليا بس in this case بما ان second syllable هو Y I'm not going to say more, I'm just going to cancel the Y and add ER. So busy will become busier and pretty will become prettier. So New Delhi is busier than Halva and this building is prettier than the tower. Okay, 2 or more syllables بالنسبة لنا عندنا بقى في حاجات تانية بتبقى irregular. يعني أنا إما عندي اتكلمنا في 1 syllable أو 2 syllables يا ER يا more. بس في some adjectives لا بتاخد ER ولا بتاخد more. زي إيه؟ هم actually 3 different adjectives. the first one is good ما بتبقاش good ما بتبقاش gooder ما بتبقاش more good بتبقى better. Bad becomes worse and far becomes further. So these are the three irregular adjectives that we have, very common adjectives. So we can say the weather in the lake or in a lake is better than in the sea, or the traffic in Rome is worse than in London. So by this, we're talking about three different ideas. The first idea is ER, the second idea is more, and the third idea is irregular. I change the adjective completely. تعالوا نشوف مع بعض آخر حاجة هتساعدني إن أنا أتكلم على natural elements or speak about nature, which is if I would like to ask about it. So we have a very important part, which is how. So how is a question that we usually use to ask about كيفية حاجة. بس how دي is a very flexible question that we can use for different things. لو أنا حطيت مع كلمة how أو مع الquestion word بتاعت how عندي an adjective، حاجة من الadjectives بيتغير معنى السؤال لمعنى مختلف تماما. يعني من how do you go to school بقول by bus، أنت بتروح إزاي. how اتحولت من كلمة إزاي. when I say how high is Mount Everest، so in this case اتحولت من إزاي لما علو. So the question changed completely. يبقى احنا عندنا ال questions with how here are going to help us ask about details for these landmarks. فأنا عندي هنا لو هتكلم على how, we have how far, which is asking about distance، بعد الحاجة. So how far is the town from your house? And we have how big or how small to ask about the size، لو هسأل على حجم حاجة. So how big is this island? How fast to ask about speed, like when we say how fast can a volcano erupt? And we also have how tall، ده لو هسأل على ارتفاع البني آدمين أو هسأل على طول البني آدمين. and how high ده لو هسأل على objects. So if I'm asking about mountain or tower, how high, and if I'm asking about people, how tall. So how high is this mountain? If we're asking about the age, we can say how old. How old is this lake? And how deep عشان أسأل على العمق بتاع حاجة. So we can say how deep is the Atlantic Ocean? How deep is the Atlantic Ocean? يبقى أنا عندي questions of how can help me more ask about natural landmarks. تعالوا نعمل practice سريع لده. So look at this and try to complete. How, if I want to ask about this, so the Arc of the Triomphe, so how high is the arc? Or if I am asking about a person, and if I want to ask about his age, I can say, how old is your father? And if I am asking about a lake and we want to know العمق بتاعها, we can say how deep is Loch Ness. بكده يبقى اتكلمنا النهارده على اهم الحاجات اللي ممكن تساعدنا ان احنا نتكلم عن natural elements. اتكلمنا على الcomparatives وازاي ممكن compare landmark to another. And we have also talked about questions with how. And we talked about vocabulary that can help me speak about natural landmarks. بكده نبقى وصلنا لنهاية حلقتنا. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.